Welcome to Your Soul Wisdom, hosted by Yana Amor Manocas. In each episode, we invite you on a transformative journey delving into the profound mysteries and wisdom of the soul. Join us as we explore a wide array of spiritual topics and sacred practices that nurture and heal the soul, from reincarnation and soul contracts to the enigmatic experiences of womb alchemy and astral travel. Our discussions are designed to enlighten, inspire, and deepen your understanding of your own soul's journey. With Your Soul Wisdom, nothing is off limits. Hello, everybody. Welcome to another episode of Your Soul Wisdom. And while it has been a minute of just us five beautiful ladies, we are having the pleasure today of having our guest, Nic Monteforte, who has spent over 2 decades helping high performers, emerging leaders, and the fiercely ambitious unlock their full potential. After a decade of career setbacks, severe stress, and health challenges, Nic discovered Vedic meditation, and that experience became the foundation of her work. She's the author of How to Calm Down Before You Blow Up and A Busy Parent's Guide to Raising Super Healthy Kids, and now a qualified Vedic meditation teacher, which Lauren and Rachel are both of her students. Nic, welcome to our show.
Thank you so much. It's awesome to be here. I love you guys. Love watching you. Make me laugh every week. It's where I get my heart laugh out of every week. It's awesome. So
Thank you. It mostly comes from Kylie, doesn't it?
okay. No, it's kind of everyone, I think.
Although people don't realize how hilarious Amanda is. Amanda is, because you're so like in that spiritual space, Amanda. Anyway, we're digressing. Yeah. Nic, let me tell you, as we get into this, I know nothing about Vedic meditation, and I assume that a decent amount of our listeners may not know or have experience with it either. The only thing that I do know is that when Lauren and Rachel became your students, and I don't know if it was around the same time or if Lauren started first, Rachel came in after. I just remember the 2 days of meditation, or two times a day of meditation, and Rachel telling me how life-changing it was for her. So please get us into what in the world is Vedic meditation, and how'd you even get there with everything going on?
Okay, I'll start with what is it. So it comes under a lot of different names. Other names that you might recognize it under are transcendental meditation, so TM. It's the same thing. It's just a different name, and there's reasons that are completely irrelevant to this conversation as to why it's called something different. It was just somebody branched away out of the TM organization, really. So that's what it is. It is a practice. I like to call it a technique. There's a lot of the spiritual side of it and all the woo-woo stuff that we can nosedive into if you guys want to as well. But just from a purely science point of view, which is what really drew me in, is that it is literally like putting a cast on your nervous system and to allow it to be held still so it can go into a deep state of rest. So like when you break a bone, you go into hospital, they put a cast on it because the body is the most intelligent piece of technology that's on this planet, and it knows innately what it needs to do to heal itself. And so what this tool does is the equivalent of putting a cast on the nervous system and allowing the nervous system time to reset itself and upgrade itself and heal itself so that we can perform more optimally in everyday life. So that's ultimately what it does. But it is it's based off a very, very ancient practice out of India. The practice we can date back to over 5,000 years ago, but when you read the philosophy and the scriptures and the texts, the people who wrote the text then talk about ancient times. So it's very, very, very ancient practice that has come out of India. And it's basically, the way that it gets looked at, it's like the science of life. It's teaching you how to utilize this piece of technology in this everyday life that we're living. And the way it came about was just a really cool story. But back in India got invaded a lot through all the different, invasions that it went through, and during those times, the royal families were frightened that all of the wisdom was going to get lost. And so what they did was they sent the rishis, the gurus, whatever you want to call them, ascetics out to hide and take the knowledge with them. And they all went into hiding to protect it. And then when it sort of came out of those periods of invasion, which was a long, long time, India had lost that soul, or that real deep spiritual soul. So they were calling for the gurus to come back out and start to bring the knowledge out. And Guru Dev Swami Brahmananda Saraswati, he was in silence for 60 years in the Himalayan jungle with his two tigers as his friends, basically, but pure silence. And he came out of silence because they tried to find him and he kept eluding them. But he eventually came out because he knew it was time for him to come out and bring the knowledge out. And so he came out and started sharing the knowledge again out in the world. And he ended up having, quite a few students under him. And one of the students that he had was a Maharishi Mahesh Yogi, and he was a physicist. So he had a very, very academic, came from a very, very academic background. He was a physicist, exceptional English scholar, and all of those sorts of things. And he became a student of his for 25 years. And he was older too when he did this. And when Guru Dev was about to drop his body, he gave all of his students a mandate, and he gave Maharishi the mandate of, you speak English. And so Maharishi knew his role in the world was to bring it to the West. And so he, got on a plane and flew to LA in his dhoti and his beard, and in the 60s, and got picked up by a combi van and got taken to the LA YMCA, and he just started talking and started teaching this practice. And because he was such a scientist, he knew that for the West to be able to take on the knowledge, he'd need to be able to prove it, because we're all so woo-woo averse, basically. So he put thousands and thousands of research studies in place. He also built a university in the States. He built ashrams everywhere. He built schools and all of that sort of stuff, but he did the science. And so it's probably the most scientifically researched practice that puts the body into the equivalent of 2 to 3 hours deep sleep in one 20-minute sitting. It's the most powerful form of rest. And he took it to the West, and then it sort of took off from there. The Beatles went and lived with him in his ashram in India, and they wrote the White Album there, and a lot of other famous people. But that's kind of where it came about. So for me, I know that's a long story, but it's really important to understand sort of where it's come from. For me, I was pretty broken. Lauren will know, she was been by my side through the last 20 years of a lot of trauma. She's been my rock. So my grateful rock through all of it. And you're going to make me cry, bloody hell. And I went through what I call it my decade from hell. And I went from very big career, very successful, running $250 million turnover company, thousands of staff. Lauren was right by my side the whole way. It was very big. And made a decision to sort of go and do my own thing, and stepped out and went and did that. And, it was one of those sliding doors moment, and went on this different journey. And the journey ended up, probably being a path that I should have turned left on instead of right, but at the time, and ended up going from having everything to literally losing everything. And I mean, like everything, like every dollar, every income stream, all my super gone, the business, and in more than $500,000 worth of debt with two kids that have just gone into private schools, and a mortgage, a house that I just bought. So,
wow.
yeah, it was pretty massive. And I was pretty sick too. So I had a lot of severe hormone related illnesses. I had endometriosis quite severely from the age of about 23. And within that window of time, it all flared up, obviously, because my body was just so stressed, and I was swallowing most of it because I had two kids, and I had to put food on the table. So it was a hustle. I just went into hardcore survival mode. And I used a lot of the techniques in the book that I wrote along the way, which was because I've got a background in exercise physiology and fitness and all of that sort of stuff. I knew what my body could do, and I knew that how I could make myself feel good enough to be able to keep going every day. So I was using a lot of physical techniques to actually, hack my stress response just so I could put one foot in front of the other. And we got through it, like it was, nature provided the whole time. Like we never went without. I was always able to put food on the table. Yes, I was in a huge amount of debt, but I was given what I needed to be able to, survive. And it was very much survival. And I was coming out of the end of that 10-year window, and things were really starting to shift. We were getting a fluid stream of clients, and the businesses were growing, and I'd met someone, and I'm like, oh, I was really coming to the end of it. And then literally literally 3 days before COVID, she just walked out, and I thought that was the person. We got engaged. I thought that was the person I was going to be with. I felt very confused because I thought I had my shit together and I'd finally got there. And it was, I guess, the universe had thought I wasn't quite there yet. I hadn't quite broken enough to be able to start this new evolution of myself. And that happened, and I shattered. That was it. I was done. I had nothing. And my son was going through HSC. It was pretty rough, actually. So I felt like I went from, on that back down into the trough. And another friend of mine who I was working with, I went and had coffee with him one morning, and he said, "You need to go and learn this technique." And I'm like, I'm already meditating. I was doing all the things, like I was a poster child for doing all the right things. And my whole life, that's, I've been the poster child of following the rules and doing all the right things. And I'm super disciplined, which is probably what got me through that period of time. Like I'm ridiculously too rigid. I was at the time, like very disciplined. And I was like meditating and exercising and doing all the things, having Reikis, having energy healing, having, talk therapy. I was doing all of it. And I'm like, no, I'm doing everything. I don't need something else. And he said to me, just trust me, this is not like anything else. And I'm like, right now, I'll do whatever. I don't care. Just okay. So I went and met my teacher at the time, and he's he's this like hardcore geezer from England, like so unassuming and not what I thought. And I sat down within 30 seconds, the judgment came in going like, why am I sitting here? What am I doing? And then he started talking, and he started telling me his story. And I'm like, okay, I want to learn. So I learned from him, and within a week, I felt different. Things started to change. Like it's pretty instant. It's not like you've got to wait months. You literally, within the first few days, you start to go, oh, wow, what the hell's going on here? And so that was it. I was like, oh, this feels really good. I wanted to know more. So I dove right into the science, and I went, okay, I need to understand what's going on, because just for my own benefit. And then the more I went down the rabbit hole, the more I went into the wisdom, right? So then I went right into the philosophy and the wisdom. And I studied for about 4 years under Matt, my teacher. And, then one thing came after another. I'm like, I need to be able to teach this to people I'm working with. If I had this 10 years ago, how differently and I get that that was my journey, and that's not the point. It's like, okay, well, how can I give it to other people who are there so that they can shortcut a 10-year journey of suffering, because the technique is just so powerful. And it literally it upgrades your nervous system. It's like plugging yourself into a charger, hitting upgrade, software tonight, and off you go. And that's kind of, what happens. So sorry, that was a lot of words, but hard to shorten it.
No, I love
Thank
it. And look, we
you.
all have a
Thank
journey
you.
to how we get to where we're at. Right. And
Yep.
of course, while you're like, oh, I lost everything in my mind, I'm like, well, how old was she? The numerology takes off for me. Right?
Yeah.
But I know I'm digressing. But can you explain a little bit about like what is you don't have to go into detail, but the technique? Is it the only
Yep.
thing I know is that it's twice a day?
Yep.
The meditation of twice a day. And for somebody like me, I cannot sit in a meditation almost to save my life. Like my body almost just starts to feel uncomfortable when I'm in it and wants to push me out.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's really normal. So, like, you're not like, you're like most people, right? That's really, really
Thank
normal.
you.
So, the difference, there's basically four types of meditation. Like, if you bunch them in, there's lots, but let's just bunch them in categories, right? And I'll come back to your question. The first is concentration meditation, contemplation meditation, chanting type meditation, and then there's transcending meditation. Now, the first three all require your mind to do something, right? So, when we're under enormous amounts of stress and pressure and demands of daily life, the physiology and the mind goes, don't ask me to do anything else. It doesn't want you to add another thing to do because it's already got too much to do, right? It's already full. Like our minds have been wrongly, or not wrongly, but old school, we've been taught to think all the time. It's constantly seeking fulfillment outside of itself by looking for thoughts to make it feel better, situations to make it feel better. It's not trying to do you harm, it's trying to make you feel good, right? That's what it's trying to do. So when we're already got so much stress and pressure going on in our life, and our body is so convoluted with stress chemistry, which is what most of us are living in most of the time, asking it to do one of those other three types of meditation is like asking you to stand on the corner on your head for like 15 hours straight. It's like, no, I can't do anymore. I'm already too full. With this meditation, we're asking the mind not to do anything. In fact, we're telling it to do the opposite. We're asking it to transcend. We don't want it to do anything. Okay. We're not asking you to concentrate. We're not asking it to think. We're not asking it to do anything. I've kind of renamed the meditation effortless meditation technique because it's what it is. Effortlessness is the key. And the way that it works is you're given a bij mantra or a seed mantra, a sound. Bij means seed, and mantra is a Sanskrit word that's two words: mind, vehicle. Mantra. That's what mantra means. It's a mind vehicle. So you get given your own sound vibration, your own mantra, and it has no intended meaning. So when you close your eyes and start to say the mantra in your mind, the mind can't attach a meaning to it. And because it's a sound frequency that is relatable to your nervous system likes how it feels. It's like the mind starts repeating it, and then all of a sudden the physiology goes, oh, wow, that feels amazing. So it lures the mind away from external thinking into the more internal, subtler layers of self, because it feels good. The mind finds it really charming, right? It wants to follow the sound. It doesn't want to think because it feels better over here. And over time, and you will have thoughts in this practice. We welcome thoughts in this practice, and there's a lot of reasons for that. That's sort of part of what I can't go into too much here, but we welcome thoughts in the practice, and there's lots of reasons for it. But we just reattach, we just go back to the mantra. And eventually over time, what happens is, we play up here on the surface of the ocean. We're getting bumped around by everything that's going on outside of ourselves, like on the top of the ocean. And as the mind draws itself inwards to the lower, it drops the body into a deep state of rest. And eventually, over time, we transcend everything. We transcend thought, we transcend mantra, we transcend body, we transcend room. There's nothingness, and we drop into the bottom of the ocean, or a deep state of stillness, bliss. And in those moments when we transcend everything and we drop into that state, the body gets flooded with what I call bliss chemistry, stay and play chemistry, all of the good neurochemistry that the physiology wants, the oxytocin, the dopamine, the serotonin, and a million other different forms of bliss chemistry. And so the physiology drops into that state and floods the body full of that chemistry. And when that chemistry is in the body, fight and flight stress chemistry can't be. They can't coexist at the same time. So when we come out of the meditation, our body's full of this bliss chemistry, and therefore we go out into the world and operate from that place rather than the place of stress. And therefore the world starts to change, because what happens on the micro starts to happen on the macro. So the more we change the way we're operating in the world from the inside, the way our physiology is working, the more the world outside starts to reshape itself to this new way of operating. Does that make sense?
Yes.
Yeah.
It's I know, you guys. It's just me and Nick here today, okay? What it's reminding me of, because I actually remember when Rachel got hers, how excited she was with whatever the sound or the mantra or the word, whatever it was, okay?
Yeah.
But it's actually reminding me of there was Deepak Chopra has some kind of chakra balancing sequence. And I
Yeah.
remember when I first started playing it, certain sounds would just energize certain parts of my body.
Yeah.
But then over time, that stimulation, if you will, kind of went away.
Yeah.
And so I wonder, with the mantra that everybody has, which is unique to them, is there a certain point where that shifts, because then a different set of frequencies needs to come in?
Yeah, no. So what? Yes, really good question. So Deepak came from TM. So he was the student of Maharishi Mahesh Yogi. So he worked who's my direct teacher. So I've got teachers in between, but that lineage. So he was one of his students for a long time, and he left TM and went and did his own thing, and became very successful. So he uses a lot of. So there are two different types of mantras. There are mantras that have intention and meaning. So chakra mantras have an intention or meaning to activate specific chakras, right? So they have meaning. The
Right.
bija mantras that we use have no intended meaning. They're just a frequency, a sound frequency. So we're not intending anything. We're just filling the body with a frequency that suits the nervous system of the person. What happens over time is the word here is bij, which is seed. So you get your mantra, it's a seed, and the seed grows with you. So you only ever need, once you get your mantra, you never need to get another one ever again, because it evolves and grows as you evolve and grow. So it evolves with you. So you only need to do this once, which is the most incredible thing, is that, yes, you can get advanced practices. After you've been meditating for a while, you can get little advanced techniques that add to it and then elevate you to another stage, but it's not necessary. This will grow with you over time.
So cool.
I've never got sick of my mantra,
No.
and it's when it changes, not just every session, but all the way through the session, as well as in whatever its functionality is, it's always changing. As in, sometimes, I know this sounds ridiculous, sometimes it feels like it's a little light broom, like just sweeping stuff out, just like this. Sometimes it feels like it's a hand doing this on my forehead, of like, you're okay, you're okay, you're okay, over and over again. But it's not me driving it. It's I'm just saying the mantra. But it's like, I don't know. I was about to say it's like having a little friend. It's like having a little friend in a sort of sprite kind of way, if you know what I mean. Like it's not actually playful either. I don't know how to describe it. But you don't get sick of it, and I'm definitely not looking for a new one.
No, one. I wouldn't give you one. The only thing I would give
No.
you is an advanced technique if you wanted to sort of go to the next level.
Lauren and I have talked about it, coming and doing
cool. So you're
next
both
week,
due.
yeah.
Oh, you're both due. But anyway, yeah. So it does what it. So here's the thing. All we're doing is using a powerful frequency. Like, we know that everything is frequency. There is nothing else, right? Like, that's all there is. The frequency is allowing the physiology to go to a place that allows the body to do what it innately knows how to do. So the mantra will do what it needs to do, that will give the body what it needs to give the body in each particular moment. Okay, so it changed. Sometimes it doesn't even sound the way that you've been taught. Like, it just does its own thing. And that's what it is. Just the intention of sitting down to do the practice, it starts to work, right? It starts to do its thing.
Yeah. And every session is different, right?
Yes.
So, this is the thing, because I remember early on feeling like I should be better at this by now.
I have definitely not got better at it.
I know I've had these conversations with Rachel, but in talking to Nic, it's actually, correct me if I'm wrong, Nic, but it's something to this effect that, it doesn't matter what happens inside the meditation if you stick to the process. It's how it shifts everything else in the rest of your day. So it's like you can have a really, what I would call, like, maybe a bad meditation, like you don't come out feeling amazing, but the rest of your day is actually so much better for having done it, if that makes sense. So but always, because the second meditation is always my favorite, my first one is always what I like. I would love it to be my second one. My first one's busy all the time. Like every morning I wake up, I go to the toilet, I meditate. That's it. Like that's what I do in the mornings. And then my second one's later in the day. And the second one's usually very euphoric. And it's like that whole rejuvenation. But the first one's usually quite busy. And I'm like, I wish it was like the other one. But it's giving me what I need, right, Nic?
Yeah, 100%. So as I said to you, we welcome thoughts in meditation. So think about it like the physiology is like stress is what it is. All comes back to, stress is used so loosely right now. But if you think about it like this, is the body keeps score from the minute you're born, from previous lifetimes, from lineage, right? But let's just talk about this lifetime. The body keeps score. Okay, so your body's like a sponge, and over your life, your sponge has been wiped over all the dirt, and it all gets stored in the physiology. Okay, so the body stores everything. Stress is a suppressed emotion. It's a moment in time where you have an adverse effect to something that is going on outside of you that causes a reaction in the physiology that we hold on to, okay, where we don't finish a stress cycle. And that's what's going on. So what this meditation is doing, and we welcome thoughts, because thoughts are really stress release in this practice. Okay, that's what a thought is. So often people find the morning ones busy because they've just woken up, and they all love the afternoon ones. I don't have that, but the body knows what it needs, and the busy ones have a really specific role as well as the deep ones. So they both play a very significant part in what's going on. But at the end of the day, if you think about the nervous system like a cloth in India, when they want to color fast, when they want to make a cloth white turn to red, they take the cloth, they dip it in the dye, and they hang it in the sun, and they let the sun fade it. And then they take the cloth and they dip it back in the dye, and they hang it in the sun, and they fade it. And they do the color fasting process until at one point the sun doesn't fade the cloth and the color is fasted into the cloth. What we're doing is dipping the nervous system into bliss chemistry. We come out, we go about our day, we get busy, it fades, we dip it back in. We go back out and we do our afternoon, it fades, we dip it back in. So we're color fasting the nervous system so that over time, your operating system starts to operate predominantly from a place of the stay and play bliss chemistry rather than a place of the fight and flight stress chemistry. So that's what's happening. So both those meditations, the busy ones and the really deep ones, which we all love, are both serving a very important part of the process of this color fasting.
Wow. So can I ask a question?
Yes.
So I've understood, because like how you said that the Vedic meditation is one and the same in sense of the transcendental meditation.
Yeah, it's exactly the same.
Right. So, and the benefits of it are that it can lower your blood pressure.
That's one of the benefits.
That's one of the benefits of it. Yeah. And so how you've explained it just now gives the understanding and the explanation behind how it actually lowers the blood pressure. And it is a permanent difference, isn't it? It's not that it lowers it for that moment and then it suddenly shoots up afterwards. It's actually that whole process of is it sort of like retraining the body, the brain, the nervous system to come out of fight and flight and into a place whereby, wow, thank you for that.
Yeah, it is absolutely re-educating the body into the way that we all should be operating. It's we're born to be this way. We're not born to be in fight and flight chemistry. If you think about ancestors, they saw a lion, they got up and they ran. So the body released the neurochemistry that it needed to keep it safe.
Yeah.
They bolted, they hid, the body calmed down, got the signal that it was safe, and then they could come out. That's not happening for us as a society.
Yeah.
We're getting perceived threat. They're not even real threats, perceived threat, an email, a call, a money. They're perceived threats. We're not doing anything. So we're not using the stress chemistry to do anything. We're sticking in it. And then we're not getting the signal that the body's recovered.
Yeah.
So we're in this half a loop where we're just building stress layer upon stress layer upon stress layer upon stress layer. And we've been doing that for a long time. So what we're doing is teaching, it's like a renovation. Okay, we're renovating the nervous system and the body. When you start the practice, the technique, it can feel a little uncomfortable. You feel like you want to sleep a bit more. You might feel a bit agitated because we're literally gutting the renovation. So the demolition's kicked into gear. We're cleaning out what shouldn't be in there. And then once we've done that, then we start rebuilding this new nervous system. And once it starts to happen, the things that you notice are just like, it's mind blowing. But basically what we're doing is when we start to clear the river of the nervous system, of all the obstructions in the river, a river can't flow if it's got obstructions. As we start to get rid of it and things start to flow, the things that you really notice are improvements in your senses. So your sense of smell is like, whoa, your sense of hearing, touch, taste, sight, they all become enhanced. We all have these superhuman qualities and abilities, which you guys all know, that we don't tap into. And the main reason is because our physiologies are so full of rubbish that they can't operate properly. So when we start to get those 5 senses working and becoming more enhanced, then what naturally happens is the 6th sense kicks into gear because it's the 5 senses all working cohesively as one. So there's your 6th sense. So there's your power of your intuition. The power of sight. That's why they call them seers. It's not because of anything. It's because they have a physiology that they're using the technology the way it should be used, because there's nothing in the way of it.
So Nic, can I ask you, the 20 minutes, and I do have a follow-up story to it. The 20 minutes, why is it 20 minutes, not any longer? Not any shorter? Is there a reason for it being 20 minutes?
Yeah, there is. Yeah, there's a reason. So when Maharishi was doing the science behind and bringing it to the West, he was doing a lot of research into what the best way for the practice is. And because the body starts unstressing, when you start the practice, the body starts releasing stress, right? It doesn't just release it in the meditation, it releases it in the waking state because we're clearing out, right? Then we're doing a renovation. So what he found was when he first started, he'd basically give them the technique and let anyone, because he was testing it out, meditate for as long as they wanted. And he found that when they came out of the meditation, when they were in for too long, they were unstressing too much in the waking state that it became uncomfortable for them. So over time, he refined it and he figured out that 20 minutes twice a day was enough to give a little bit of a shake of the nervous system. And rather than giving it a big shake of a soda bottle and taking the lid off and everything explodes, we just let a little bit out. So a little bit comes out and then we go about our business, and it doesn't impede the way you operate in the waking state. So it's that color fasting approach. We let a little bit of it out, then we do it again, because a lot of people found that they unstress too much in the waking state when they do longer. But over time, the more you do the technique and the more your physiology gets, stabilized in a new way of being, the longer you can go and it doesn't have that effect, because we eventually start to move the stress out of the physiology, and then we start to tap into moving into higher states of consciousness because there's nothing getting in the way of doing that. So the 20 minutes is really for householders, which is what we are. We're people that live in the world. We've got to make money. We've got responsibilities, etc. We're not gurus sitting on the side of a mountain that have no responsibility. So it's a really, the technique is done like that so that we can continue to operate in the world easily and effortlessly having this practice in our life.
My experience of the 20 minutes,
Thank you.
Amanda, is that it makes it easy to commit to for a start. Do you know what I mean? 2 times 20 minutes during the day is something that's manageable. And I have definitely had the experience of over meditating and doing, because, Nick told us that, for instance, we're in really stressful situations and flying is one of those. And you can meditate while you're on the plane, and you can meditate for as long as you want. I have done that for like an hour and a half trip to Sydney, which was great while I was on the plane. But then when I was off the plane and actually had to function as a human with my parents, it was not good. And I totally understood, again, for the 50 billionth time, if a little is good, then a lot is not necessarily better. And it's so effective that I realized that even if I wanted to, it just doesn't work for me. I'm like this, trying to remember how to walk and talk and focus on people afterwards.
Yeah. So the reason why I asked is because years ago I had a mentor, my spiritual father, and I know he used to read into many different things, many different systems, many different belief systems and things like that. And I know he would have been into transcendental meditation because we all worked together as a youth group meditating. And so when I got baptized, it was a spiritual Baptist church. And when they did their baptism, they would have us do something whereby we would journey through the night. So we would all turn up like the night before the baptism, and we'd all be beside a nurse. We would get into like these white clothes, and we'd be bound. Our eyes would be like, we'd have like a blindfold on, and we would have to journey in the church through the night. When I mean journey, they would stay with us and they would sing like hymns through the night, all the way through the night. So different groups would take over singing, and we'd be lying down on like these like beds on the floor, and we would just be meditating and just journeying and just journeying and just journeying. Now, in the morning now, they would get us ready and they would take us onto a coach because we would drive to the sea. And I think it was like Hastings where I think it might be Hastings or Helen, I can't remember, where I was baptized, dipped in the sea. But all this time you're going through this whole process blindfolded. And so it's almost as if it takes away all your different senses and everything. It just removes it. And then once you got on the coach and sat down, Bishop, because he was actually an archbishop, he would come and sit with you and he would give each one of us a mantra. There's a phrase. It could be like 2 or 3 words. And we had to recite that all the way to the sea. And we'd all have our different ones, and we'd all be repeating this mantra. And I'm now realizing where he got it from, because he would have studied this. And I'm going back how many years now. He would have studied it. And what happened was that, and I still remember it to this day, what mine was. And you would remember, you would recite that, because nobody speaks to you, nobody's allowed to speak to you or have any like, nobody's chatting, having conversations on the coach and eating sandwiches. It's not happening. So you go all the way to the sea, and then when you get off, they when it's your time to be dipped, the person who's walking with you, the nurse, she would take you into the water and she'd hand you over, and then you'd be dipped 3 times. And then when they pull you up, they turn you round to face the sunset, because you have to arrive as the sun is rising. They would remove the blinds. And it was quite a euphoric experience. It was literally, It was just wild, because it was almost as if nobody else existed but that brightness of that light and everything like that. And all you've heard, I mean, everybody's singing obviously, but is that mantra you have going. And every so often I would remember it, but it's always sort of been my sort of like power phrase. That's how I've always looked at it. It's like my power phrase, but I don't always remember it. And it's not like I remember it in times of stress or anything that, oh, I remember to repeat this. It wasn't. And the funny thing was that I thought about that mantra might have been today or yesterday, but honest to God, I had no idea we were going to be speaking about something like that today. I had no idea, but I have been thinking about studying transcendental meditation with my daughter. So so I'll probably be in contact with you if you work.
Amazing. Across
the world.
I do actually. Yeah,
Okay,
most of the because
fabulous.
I do normal sort of. I've got contract work in Australia time, so most of the people that I work with are on either side of the day in the States or in the UK.
Right.
So yeah.
That's
That's awesome.
fascinating.
Yeah,
Thank
it's
you. That's
a
fascinating.
yeah, amazing. It's a powerful tool, which is what it is. And as I said, the more you practice it, the more conscious you become. So you really start to move into more enlightened states of operating. So you talk about the light. One of the first things that you start to notice is it's called a state of cosmic consciousness. It's where you start to notice deeper layers of existence in everyday life. And the one thing that sort of stands out for most people, and the thing that people say the most, and this is what happened to me, is they notice light. So you walk past a tree and the light is reflecting off a leaf and you see it.
Yeah.
Not see it, but you see it and you go, oh, wow.
Yeah.
And so you notice light dancing on walls. You notice on the water, not just reflection. You see the light dancing, which is, the deeper layers of existence that are there. They called, Devic activity in the Vedic tradition. It's, the power of the devas in those subtler layers of existence. So you become, more and more enlightened, for want of a better way to put it.
Yeah.
Something that I noticed specifically about sort of my everyday life is an expanded capacity to be in maybe situations that are long or uncomfortable, but be very present, and then time warps. So, and it's funny because the first time I noticed this, so for me, it'll be 2 years in September. First time I noticed this, I don't know, I might have been 3 to 6 months after starting, but was actually just like being at the gym, doing an hour hard cardio on the cross trainer and feeling like it was 20 minutes or 15 minutes. And that's just a very simple, basic example. Of course, it translates to many other things, whether, being in situations where, but you just can be really present and you have the capacity, and then time seems to warp or to shift. So it's quite an interesting experience. But yeah, it's that presence.
Yeah.
Being comfortable and being present in things that may not necessarily have been comfortable, or you may have just wished to be over. And that goes for challenging life situations as well.
Yeah.
No, go ahead.
I was just going to say that's about meditation. Right. So going back to how do you get somebody like me who can't sit in a meditation, because what you just explained, Lauren, is how it feels for me. Like, I just can't wait for it to be over. And that's not my intention. That's not how I want it to be. I just don't know how to do that.
When when Shaya would help, like, try to get me to do meditation, she'd even be getting me to try and do ones that just count the out breath. Do you know what I mean? Like, just count the out breath. And if you lose track, then just start again at 1, that kind of thing. I swear to God, I could do it for 10 minutes and never get past 1.
Right.
Like, that's how bad at meditation I was. Like, let alone the frustration that comes along with that.
But was that a focus thing? Was that a focus thing?
I honestly think that the things that you are, so to speak, struggling with the concept of meditation, I was 100 times more than that.
But it's a physical thing. It's a physical thing.
I totally get it. I totally get it.
Yeah, but that's what we're saying. This is different. This is it's just different.
It's not physical. We're not asking you to do anything. You will sit down.
About the physical agitation.
Yeah, no, I know, but your physiology, you won't have that experience. And like, you will sit down. In the first session, if I taught you in the very first session, you will meditate and you will come out of the session and go, oh my God, that is so not what I thought it would be. Like, it's not that's a story that is real for most people, because most practices, we're forcing something that the body and the mind doesn't want to do because it's already full. This is the opposite. This is like, think about it like another way to think about it more like a sound healing, right? So it's a sound frequency that the body drops into, doesn't push it away. It doesn't want to push it away. It wants to invite it in. So it's the only way you can know it is to experience it. It is like an experiential practice. I can talk to you till the cows come home and explain that it's not the same. And do you know what I mean? I can't. It's a lived experience where you will walk away after learning your mantra and one session, and you will go, okay, now I totally get it.
Well, it's interesting what you just said about the sound frequency, which I guess I should have gotten when I first brought up Deepak and that whole thing we're talking about. And the mantra, is that I can sit in a sound bath successfully, let it be 2 hours, and I'm fully present and it feels good and it's resonating through my body. But everything else, I haven't been able to do that. So I think you just connected the dots for me. So, okay.
It's sound. Yeah, that's what it is.
The most amazing thing is that feeling that you're anticipating feeling in meditation. It's like Vedic meditation has removed that from me in all aspects of my life. It's really, like, don't get me wrong, you guys know that I'm impatient and I like to be busy and fast, and that hasn't changed. But my agitation about those things has gone, like, you've never even seen me agitated like I would have used to get agitated by slowness.
Yeah. I'm not dissimilar, like to be busy and focused, and it changes how you interact with the world. So you are still who you are and the way that you operate, but it changes how you become very responsive to life and non-reactive to life. Your capacity, as Lauren said, increases. So we're clearing out the body of anything that's obstructing it from its superpowers. So your creative ability just skyrockets, your problem solving. The cognitive part of our brain gets turned off when we're under pressure and stress. It's not. So you have a new level of discernment. Things that you would react to before, you have this new level of discernment that makes you look at the situation and go, that actually isn't what it's presenting as. There's something else behind it. So you start to see behind everything because you have this new clarity of thinking. Energy, infinite capacity, infinite energy, infinite time. You talk about time warping. Time stops existing. Like it's like, people say, this is like the funny thing, because the mind we're stopping the mind from incessant thinking, because the mind doesn't need to think anymore, because it's so full of bliss chemistry. It's satiated. It's like we're dipping the mind into the best meal that you've ever eaten. We're bringing it out after having this meal, and we're operating in the world. The mind doesn't need to go looking for anything to stimulate it because it's full. So therefore, all of a sudden, present moment awareness is like off the scale, like you're just there. You're in every moment. And that's where the magic happens. They say that the present is the future in the making, but you can't see the future in the making if you're not really in the present. And so it's bringing us back into that.
And I've got to say, I've never actually taken Valium, but that's how I feel when I come out of my good sessions. I feel like I've had a Valium.
It's like when people say something is like smoking, like smoking crack. We've never done it. That's
okay.
You've never
run on multiple illegal drugs. Okay.
I was going to say, I've done all the drugs.
I have had Valium.
It doesn't feel like a drug thing when you're
but I mean, like, in the best way possible. Like, it's just instant relaxation.
I had Valium and I had to take my driving test. That was wild because I used to get clutch wobble. I told you because I used to get clutch wobble. So
okay, we're not driving with you.
No, in taking my test, I used to get so nervous because in my head, I told you guys about this, about the fact that my left leg used to, because we drive manuals, you'd have to learn to drive a manual. So you, back in the day, you had to learn to drive a manual. Now we can do a manual or an automatic test, but most people will learn a manual, because if you learn a manual, you can drive any car. You can drive automatic and a manual. But if you do automatic test, you can't drive a manual. But after my first test, I got so anxious and nervous that when I got in the car the second time around to do the test, my left leg just kept shaking, and it's the left leg that you're going to use to control the clutch. so to get that biting point, but it kept on shaking.
So you had
and
Valium for your
wobbling.
driving test?
Well, the next time, I went
Wow.
and spoke to the doctors. I didn't know what I was going to do. I just said, I don't think I can take my test because my leg keeps shaking. I don't know why it's shaking. So she goes to me, oh, that's called clutch wobble. She goes, let me give you a Valium. She said, I'll give you a Valium for that. She did.
Okay.
And I had no
have
idea
lots
what
of
this thing was.
Look,
You
But
just
I
need to
took-
learn
Anyway, I
meditation.
didn't mean to get us onto this topic.
Sorry.
Well,
Yeah,
Again,
and just
if,
by the way-
Amanda, if you had meditated before that,
Nick's
you would have
face
been
is so
fine
funny.
because you would have been blissed out, you know?
what I was going to say before that is that there have been times when something has happened in my life that has activated me so much that I've thought there is not enough weed in the world to calm me down from this. And I have, for whatever reason, needed to do my meditation, which is another thing that it's great that you just need to do these things because it is a lifelong commitment. And sure enough, it would have taken me 19 and a half minutes to get there, but I was there by the end of it. Do you know what I mean? Like even under that, and it was amazing. I was just like, I can't believe that it can work like that.
Yeah.
It
Can
is.
you
Like,
do
you
it
actually get me
multiple
down
times a
to
day,
base.
like more than twice? Because I'm asking for Rachel.
Say
No,
that again.
this is the thing. Unless you're under immense pressure or you're incredibly sick or amazingly grieving, then no. But that's good for me. Like having some boundaries around that stuff is good.
It's like mental hygiene. You know, we brush our teeth twice a day, right? Like we look
Yeah.
after our teeth. This is the hygiene for your nervous system. Like we live in the most stressful world and life and circumstances. It is literally cleaning the rubbish off the nervous system twice a day. And over time, you know, the rubbish stops sticking. So that's the other thing, is that not only do you get rid of what is in there already, like when we get rid of the rubbish that's preventing us from operating properly, what starts to happen is the future rubbish doesn't stick anymore. So you do not get affected the same way you used to. You do not absorb stress. You do not swallow stressful situations. You don't react the same. Things bounce off you. You become very adaptable and very stabilized in this state of being that it, you know, and if things do touch you, like if you do get affected, they happen quickly and it's gone. So nothing sticks. Like you don't, you know, you might get bumped around, something might happen, a big life event, and you get knocked around, but you come back to center really quickly. You're very, very
more
flexible
adaptable.
and adaptable.
Yeah.
Can I come in with a question?
Yeah.
So I want to know the process of picking the mantra. Is it a journey? Is it an experience? Like, can you talk us through that?
It's like there's quite a lot. It's hard to go into where it all came from, but in essence, it's around stages of life. So it's around where you're at in your life, sort of birth date, sort of stuff like that, where the planets were, what the frequency of the universe was. It's a few different things. So it's based on sort of stage of life and the frequency that's most relevant. Now, you know, the teacher has, and we all have different stages of life at different times. We all have general themes. And then, you know, the teacher can also ascertain from meeting you, if that is the right one or not, and then they can give you something else. But generally it's themes and stages of life.
Oh, so I thought it was just it kind of came to you, but there's a science kind of
there is
behind
a very, very detailed
Interesting.
science. Yeah.
Okay, that's cool.
Well, and astrology, time of birth, and all that stuff is very, very dominant in the Indian culture.
That's
right. They very much follow it with many different things, maybe all areas of their life, if you will.
Jyotish. So I have my own Jyotishi. So I have a teacher that is in that space, that as part of my sort of practices that I have. So I have expanded practices now. And I use my Jyotish on a regular basis, particularly to give me, so you've got the meditation practice, and then there's other practices that are more intentional based, that can help during different phases or things that you're going through based on what's happening in your chart. But it all comes back to the science of the universe, really. Like, you know, that's where it all comes back to. Yeah.
That's just so cool. I mean, if anyone who's listening to this hasn't even signed up yet, I don't know what they're waiting for. And so, Nic, as we're getting to the end of this, can you please share with our listeners and us where people can find out more information about you, where to sign up, get information about the Vedic meditation, all of that.
Yeah, they can just go to my website, which is just nicmonteforte.com. So nicmonteforte.com. If they want to read more about the work, then my book that is out at the moment is called Infinite Capacity. And they can go to that. It's infinitecapacitybook.com. And you can get that. It's like $4. It's like cheap. And I've thrown everything in there. I've got all the research. I've got case studies. All the science is in there. Obviously, I can't teach the technique in the book. But you can go there and get the book, or just go to my website and send me a message, or just DM me on Instagram at Nic Monteforte, which is, another way.
I love that. Ladies, and any last comments, questions while we have Nic here? Because it's such a pleasure. I mean, you gave so much information.
You're welcome.
I just want to say, so Nic and I have known each other for a really long time, like 20 years. And so, we've gone through a lot of, spiritual work together, all that sort of stuff. We've done meditation, all these things. And I remember her telling me about this, and I was exactly the same as what she described she was in the beginning. I've done all the things. I do all the things. I don't need more things. But I definitely needed this. So that's all. If you're sitting there thinking that you don't need it because you do something else, this is not like that thing. That's all I can say. And you do have to experience it to really understand it.
I would like to thank Nic for being my teacher, and to say that I think I'm up to 453 consecutive days. And I already, I sent a screenshot when I was up to 365, and I was thinking, okay, well, the next one will be 1,000 to send through to Nic, that kind of thing.
Awesome.
I'm grateful for it every single day. It is often my favorite part of my day, and I have a fantastic life. Do you know what I mean? And the benefits of it, you can't possibly appreciate it by words. Do you know what I mean? You actually have to experience it yourself on what you're like with it. And yes, I 100% recommend.
5 stars,
and
do you
Vedic,
recommend?
Yeah,
Thank you.
yeah, really.
I've got all goosebumps and all tingly.
Yeah.
It's
It's made a really significant difference to my life experience.
Thank you so much. You guys are awesome.
Oh, Nic, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank
For everyone listening, all of Nic's information is down below in the description. Reach out to her, reach out to us. We'll connect you. Also, if you're interested in a reading, a healing, a guided meditation session, a light body activation, or you want more information on Rachel's and Lauren's experience with Vedic meditation, head on over to yoursoulwisdomshow.com. And if you want to join the collective, yoursoulwisdomshow.com. We thank you for allowing us to create this beautiful space, and we hope you have a blessed day. Bye, everybody.
Thank you.
Bye, everyone.
Bye.